Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to this week recap video. This week I only entered one new position, which is Euro dollar, and the rest of the positions, such as silver, was mentioned about in the last recap video. And I did close down Solana and I did close down Pound Kiwi as well. So we're gonna take a look at these positions, starting with Euro dollar. So as you can see, I am currently live in two entries in Euro dollar, and I'm still live in silver right now. So let's take a look at the overall price action from Euro dollar first. So starting from the higher time frame on Euro dollar, we can see that I see on the higher time frame that we're currently in this larger kind of a parallel channel structure, and we have a few swing highs and a few swing lows. We have a lower time frame kind of expanding structure, correctly moving the price down to the low of the higher time frame structure. If we look at this lower time frame here, we also have that descending structure. We know that is a bullish reversal. So basically, I'm waiting for a price to break out of this descending channel and then some sort of lower time frame continuation price action to be able to catch this bullish run to the upside. Now, in terms of entry, I look for a couple entries here. First entry I got in was I see this push out from the price here out of the descending structure, and that was the first continuation correction I saw. I didn't set the entry order right above the highs here. I kind of just missed that by maybe a 5 minute or so. I did still end up catching this to set a higher just above the correction here as an entry order, and then still set the stop loss below the correction as how I usually would done in this situation. Then price tagged me in here and pushes up, and then we had another correction here, and I was waiting for price to kind of impulse out of that high here, and then I set another entry order just above this correctional structure as well, and then set a pretty generous stop loss below the low, and pretty much price tagged me in on both, and then just hovering around in this area for most of the Friday time, and this is good for us if we're looking for a bullish kind of continuation because we want to see consolidation here, right? After we're breaking out of this descending structure, we have that impulsive phase. We want to see correction. We want to see consolidation because that usually gives us a very good upside potential once the consolidation finishes, and we might see that up move here starting from Monday or so. So I'm happy to keep these trades running. We're just gonna see how the trades will go, and see how the consolidation here would be likely to consolidate a little bit more during the market open during the Asia session, and then maybe perhaps during the London session or New York session, we might get that bullish impulse. So that is the first position, really the only position that I got involved from last week, which is Euro dollar. Rest of the position I'm going to go over are positions that I either talked about from the recap video from last week that are still running, such as silver, or closed down, such as Solana and Pound Kiwi. So silver, you guys recall that I talk about the entry, I talk about the overall higher time frame bias, and the lower time frame bias as well. And in terms of management, we finally see some bullish up move from the price, which is nice, right? After the inverted head and shoulder, we have this kind of consolidation here, but we eventually get this impulse and move to the upside. And we're kind of breaking out of this descending structure as we know as well, right? As we can see, descending channel are a bullish reversal, and we're seeing some bullish price action here, which is nice. Now, breaking out the trend line is one thing, right? Because that doesn't confirm the upside yet. What we generally want to look for here now is a consolidation here. That's going to give us another bit bullish kind of up move if we get a consolidation finish. Just like what we have seen in the past, every time we price consolidate, from this correction, that usually leads to another up move here. So I'll be paying attention to this one. I'd like to see if we're going to get consolidation here. I might even consider a skill in entry if that fits my plan, if the consolidation looks bullish. I do expect price to hit this next swing high here if that as a first potential target. And if we do end up breaking above the high, I think another high here to the top of the overall structure is very likely from a mid to long term outlook, and I'm likely to hold on to this initial position as well as the scaling position if I was able to get in. So that is silver. It's looking pretty nice, and I still like the overall higher time frame. Still like the lower time frame. Nothing changes from this perspective, and looking to kind of hold it for a longer period if it's possible. So let's look at the position that I closed down. If you guys recall from last recap video, I did enter a trade on Solana. So Solana, we talk about the entry I was looking for is that continuation breakout from the higher time frame correction, and I look for a lower time frame continuation. And it pretty much price tagged me here above the high of this correction, but basically just gonna start moving down gradually, and eventually take me out. Now, when I was looking at this, I thought the entry was fine. I thought that I followed my plan to look for basically a correction after breakout from the higher time frame structure, and that was the really clear lower time frame correction for me to get in. Just didn't work out this time, and basically what price doing now is basically developed into a larger structure. If you can see, we just have a few more swing highs and a few more swing lows. So we end up creating a larger structure, and it looks like there is a potential entry here as well that I did not catch. But looking at this, basically just shows that when we enter these kind of position, sometimes the price may not be enough to continue the bullish run, and it ends up creating a larger structure, which is what I call expanding or evolving the structure. And that will happen sometimes in the market, and that's something that we just have to deal with. We'll take a loss here, and then we look to enter back into the market if the right price action develops, or kind of look for further opportunity if we're just going to be a little bit more patient here. Perhaps we're going to get more consolidation here. We don't know that yet. But more consolidation, more development of the price that gives you a better confirmation to re-enter the trade. So Solana here ended up taking a 1% loss. I'll go over Pound Kiwi here. There's several positions I want to go over. Pound Kiwi was also a trade I entered from the last week video. And this week I did enter one more scaling position, which didn't end up into the profits. I'll explain all the entries today. Price did end up pushing down, just like that's kind of what we expected or what we forecasted. In terms of entry, in terms of management, here's the different part about it is that for the last recap video, I entered the sell here after the price pushes up, reverse down, and then continuation, and kind of hover around here. And then when the market opened last week on Monday, kind of pegged me out here right away for 1% loss. But I was looking to re-enter back into the trade if there was better price action. And I ended up seeing that the price formed another smaller correction here at the top. And I entered the I entered a entry order here, just put the stop loss below this correction. And then, sorry, put the entry below this correction here, put the stop loss above the high. And price tagged me here around and pushes down, and that was looking pretty good. So I'd rather wait set the stop loss to break even. I was looking to enter a scaling position. I was looking at this smaller correction. At the time, it was looking much smaller. It was looking something like this. Then I entered here at the breakout here, making sure I had the stop loss above the high. Price pushed me down, form a little bit of a larger structure here, and then still pushes down, and then just hovering around here, and then eventually push it up, taking me out for the scaling entry here for a full 1% loss. And as I enter the scaling position, I also moved down my first position stop loss to about 0.5% or so. So basically, the second position ended up taking me out for a 1% loss, and the first position taking me out for a plus 0.5% profit. So in total, 3 trades end up with a minus 1.5% loss. And pretty much price end up correcting, just forming a larger structure here, and then eventually pushes down to the desired direction that I was looking at. Now, when something like this happens, when I do my journals, I'm going to really look into this and kind of see if there's anything that I done that was incorrectly or something that I can work on. And this is why we do our journals, right? And when I look at this is that, let's say if I could take out the second position here for a 1% loss, if I was to still hold the trade at break even, I would still get tagged out here. So here's the part about the management side that I think often traders get a little bit confused is sometimes in these situations, if you protect your trade, move a stop loss to break even, you'll get stop out and then you'll see the trade works out in your favor. And often, if in another situation, if you don't move your stop loss, if you just keep it at -1 here, well, in this case, price pushes down, pull back, nothing would happen here, and then it would have continued to your desired target. So, what do you do when to implement which one? Well, that is up to your trading plan. This is why it's super important. Is that in my trading plan, and I made that video earlier about how to move our stop loss to break even or in profit during the impulsive phase. And I explained why I do that because over the years when I backtest, I rather see trades that hit about 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 here end up, not going to the red, not going to be losing that trade, at least in break even or a little 0.5% profit, because I don't want to see a trade that end up running to about 2%, 2-to-1, and end up reversing back, hitting a -1%, which end up basically you're losing 3% or so. So again, there's no right or wrong, right? It's just different perspective and which management you wish to implement. In my opinion, I'm always happier to take the break even or take a break even in situation and then re-enter back to the market if there was any entry or if there is any new opportunity or development. I'm happy to re-enter back those positions, but I don't want to see a trade that was in profit and end up hitting a loss, right? And again, consistent is key because I've been doing this for many times, and this situation does not work out for me in the profitable sense, but it is my management, it is a trade, it is in my trading plan that I follow. The worst that you can do, in my opinion, is to decide each scenario based on how you feel, based on how you want, and I think that's making emotional decisions. You might see this case works out where you just keep your stop loss at -1 and then price turns continue to the downside. Whereas in another situation, if you do that, and what if the price hits about 2 to 1 and then reverse back to take you out? Right? That's not a pleasant feeling either. So make sure you understand there's no pros and cons, right? There's no right and wrong. In this case, you got to figure out what makes sense for you more. What is your perspective in this situation? And overall, to me, I'm thinking about the positive side of things because the trade does work out, right? The overall bias was there, the bearish pushdown was there. So I was correct about the outlook now. And basically, if we do have further opportunity in this case, if this correction is finished now, then we have further downside that we can look out for entry for. And that's something that I will look back and get back into the position if possible. So to recap everything, pound Kiwi here, there was 3 entries here on this same potential sell, end up taking about 1.5% loss here. Solana here was the entry that I entered, end up with a 1% loss. Silver is a trade that's still running right now. I think it's running about close to 1.3% or so. We'll be looking for a scaling position here if it fixes. Euro dollar was the only really live a new position I entered from last week. There's 2 positions running right now. I think one is running about 0.7, the other one's running about -0.3. So we'll see how next week goes if we get this consolidation finished. I do expect this to push it higher. So that is it, guys. That is my recap video for this last week, and we'll go over these live position again during my weekly trading market outlook, as well as any pairs, anything that we're looking at for the week ahead. So feel free to join me for the live stream. So thank you very much, guys, and hope to see you guys the Monday New York session.